Good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I hope you're enjoying this Monday evening as we have got a great show for you. I've got a very special guest. He is a pioneer in the Fountain City. He has been covering sports well over 30 plus years in here in the Tri-City area. I am pleased to welcome to the Sports Beat on the show once again, Dave Platta. Dave, how have you been?
Doing great, Richard. Appreciate you letting me on once again.
Now, Dave, I couldn't think of a better person to get on the show than to talk about the history of minor league baseball, as we did receive the word a couple of weeks ago that the Mississippi Braves, the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, will be calling Columbus their home in 2025. And it got me thinking, because you've covered sports here, since 1985?
Yes, sir.
So 1985, we go back to the history of minor league baseball. The last time that a AA team was in Columbus was the Columbus Mudcats in 1990. But in your perspective, because you've covered the Mudcats, they were called the Astros before then. They were the Astros actually from 1970 to 1988. And then they make that transition to the Columbia's Indians and the White Sox and then the Red Sticks and then the final minor league team, the Columbus Catfish, that left Columbus in 2008. But they were in the Sally League. And I remember that the Sally League, it's a single A, but all the teams in Georgia, like when I first moved to Georgia, you had the Augusta Green Jackets, the Savannah Sand Gnats, the Rome Braves, the Columbus Catfish. But in your opinion, just seeing the transition of minor league baseball in Columbus, how is it going to work in 2025, and how can we get the fans here in Columbus to support minor league baseball?
Well, the history of minor league baseball in Columbus is somewhat checkered. A lot of teams have left. The Braves coming in with the group that owns the Braves team, giving it a shot. One of the biggest things will be good promotion. Now, we haven't had professional baseball here, like you said, for almost 15 years, more than 15 years. So people should be fairly hungry for it. Whether they can get enough people to the ballpark and to keep it going, that, of course, is the big question. In the past, teams have left because of inadequate attendance. That goes back to before I was born. Back in the 50s, they had a team leave for Gastonia, North Carolina, when the team was in first place because nobody was showing up. On the other hand, when the Mudcats were here, Joe Kramer was the general manager, and he had them drawn up like 125,000 folks per season. John Dietrich did a great job as a promoter when he came in with the Red Sticks. When Charlie Morrow, the late Charlie Morrow, purchased the team, and John did a wonderful job teaching Charlie how to do things, and they had good attendance for that too. It's a question of promotion more than anything else, getting people excited about coming to the ballpark, not just to see the players, but to have a good time.
Oh, Dave, there's no question about that. And the reason why I think this is going to work is because this is a Braves affiliate. We have a lot of Atlanta Braves fans, and they could see these Braves prospects come up from the minor leagues, from single A to double A to triple A with the Gwinnett Stripers. And it's going to be different. I mean, I've been a huge fan of the Columbus Chattahoots. I'm sad to see them go, but they've really paved the way. They helped get Golden Park ready for this. And I believe the city is ready for this in 2025, but it's going to be a little bit different than going to the ballpark to see the Columbus Chattahoots. That was a Woodbat Summer League for collegiate baseball that started in June and ended in July, sometimes beginning of August when they have the SBL playoffs. But this is a very long season. It starts in April and it ends in September. Do you think that Columbus is ready to see minor league baseball from April to September and just going on a random Monday night or Tuesday night at Golden Park to see the Columbus baseball team maybe take on the Montgomery Biscuits or the Biloxi Shuckers? I mean, are they ready for this?
I would like to think they will be. Remember, the folks coming in, they've been running the team in Pearl, Mississippi, the Mississippi Braves, and they've done a good job there. Part of the draw, of course, is for the Braves to have all their minor league teams here in the state of Georgia. So you brought that up. Having teams in Augusta, Rome, Columbus, and Gwinnett, it's easier for the major league team. And you're right, fans can follow players as they move around. The double A level of play is a very high level of play. And we haven't seen that in a very, very long time. we're going to have to see how it all plays out. I think it can happen. I think it can work. A lot of the question, of course, will be what is the atmosphere at the ballpark going to be. I'd like to see what they're using as a template to fix up Golden Park and to try to revitalize the area down by the ballpark.
Well, Dave, this city loves championships. I mean, we love it when the River Dragons win a Commissioner's Cup, and we were rooting for the Columbus Chattahoochee and the Chattahoochee Monsters to win an SBL championship. You got to witness the Columbus Catfish win the Sally League championship in 2007 when they defeated the West Virginia Power. But do you think that when this new team comes that the goal is to win the Southern League championship? Because it seems like at the minor league level, I mean, you can't really get attached to these players because you have a really good player in Double-A, he'll get promoted up to Gwinnett in a heartbeat. And so there really isn't any players that stay very long at the Double-A level. But really, what do you think that the goal is for minor league baseball here in Columbus? Is to win a championship or just to watch a good product?
It's to watch a good product because you have to remember minor league teams are there to get the talent working for the big league ball club. And they're going to move up the ladder as they're ready for it. Now, one thing, the major league teams want their guys to win at the minor league level because winning, is still an important thing to do. But they're more interested in developing the talent than necessarily winning a pennant. Winning a pennant is just like it's the icing on the cake. It's a cherry on top of the sundae. So that's what it is. They want to develop talent. You want to teach guys how to win, though, too. It's kind of a fine line because you're not going to see the number one player necessarily play every game because the backups, they're trying to develop them too. Say your best shortstop may play 5 games out of 7, but the guy that's behind him has got to get some play, got to get some ABs. They got to get some playing time too. They got to see some innings. They got to get on the field also. It's a little dance they have to do. So winning a pennant would be awesome, but it's not required.
Dave, you have covered a lot of great baseball talent in this city, from Frank Thomas to Tim Hudson to Edwin Jackson, and got to cover some great moments. I mean, what was that moment like when the Columbus Catfish won the Sally League Championship in 2007? Because I know times were different in 2007. They probably didn't have the live stream or the YouTube like we have now, but some of these moments you were there to witness it. I mean, what was that feeling like, and how did the city respond to the Catfish winning a championship?
Oh, folks came out. I mean, it wasn't a completely packed house, but there were a lot of folks there, and there was a lot of excitement because they won the championship at Golden Park, and there's something to be said for that, winning at home. The previous time that a Columbus team won a pennant was 1986, but they had to go to Huntsville to win that, and there was a small group. I was part of that small group. I was there shooting the game, covering the game, but there wasn't any of this video back or anything else. It was mostly for the next day. There was a small group there to watch the Columbus Astros win the Southern League Championship. It was fun, no question about it. And seeing these guys bring it home, Brian Baker was on that Columbus Catfish team. Now, if you remember, Brian Baker won a pennant here with the Columbus Catfish. He won a national championship as a CSU Cougar. Those games were played in Montgomery, and he won a state championship in Golden Park it wasn't at Golden Park. If I remember correctly, no, the games were not played. It was played at Golden Park. Brian Baker won as a Columbus Blue Devil in high school. So he actually won championships in Columbus for Columbus teams at all three levels of the game: high school, college, and professional. So that's something to be said for that.
That is definitely awesome, playing for Coach Bobby Howard and Columbus with 12 championships. It's obvious that Columbus is a baseball town. I mean, we saw the Phoenix City Little League team go to the Little League World Series Championship. They won the American Championship back in 1999 with the Rasmus brothers. In 2006, we saw the Northern Little League team win the Little League World Series. And that team, 4 years later, you got players like Josh Lester, making the high school, winning a high school state championship at Columbus. I mean, so you pretty much do the math. Your Little League team, you add 4 years, they're going to be very good in high school baseball. I really just love the fact that we have minor league baseball here because Columbus is a baseball town. We try to cover baseball as much as we can in this city. The Columbus State baseball team does well. The CVCC baseball team does well. And I really think it's going to attract more fans that are coming to Golden Park to see this incredible product. But I really got to bring it back to just the history of minor league baseball here in Columbus. Has there been any players that you covered at the minor league level in Columbus that made it on to the majors? Anybody that we know in particular?
Well, tons, of course. A lot of folks came through here.
Oh yeah,
Well,
they got a sign out at Golden Park.
yeah,
Players even like Glenn Davis played at Golden Park.
sure. I mean, take it all the way back. Say Ken Caminiti came through here with the Columbus Astros. He won a National League MVP in 1996 with the San Diego Padres. Um, I mean, Tuffy Rhodes, outfielder with the Columbus Astros Mudcats. He wound up playing for with the Chicago Cubs. He hit 3 home runs on an opening day one year. The number of players who come through here and done well. Matt Kemp was a member of the Catfish. You've got all kinds of Red Sticks, like Einar Diaz played for like 10 years. Russell Branyan played for like 9 different teams. Russell Branyan grew up in Macon, played for the Red Sticks, and he had a big year. The year that the Red Sticks got stuck out at CSU, he hit like 30 plus homers, led the league in homers that year. Just a number of great players that come through here. You're going to see great talent. That's just all there's to it. That's the best part about it. You get to see these guys up and coming. Watching the guys from the other teams too. Andrew Jones came through here as a Sally League player. He hit like 3 home runs in 2 nights. He made a bunch of incredible catches. Just keep that in mind. You're seeing these guys on the rise.
Dave, I want to talk about the team that's coming to Columbus in 2025. They're going to be joining the Southern League with, I believe, their rival is going to be the Montgomery Biscuits. I mean, they're only an hour and a half away. You got the Rocket City Trash Pandas, the Biloxi Shuckers, the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, and not to mention all the teams up in the north like the Tennessee Smokies. I mean, I'm familiar with the Southern League, Dave, because right out of college I worked for the West Tennessee Diamondbacks, which no longer exist. They were in the Southern League with all those teams. And so I know how competitive Double-A baseball can be. We see it over in the Eastern League in the Northwest, and we also see it in the Texas League. You know, I'm familiar with the Arkansas Travelers. I mean, so Double-A is really a great product. It also invites the opportunity, especially Golden Park could host the Double-A All-Star Game in the future as well. It's going to bring revenue to the city. I believe it's going to attract fans that would normally not go to the ballpark. But I'm excited. 2025 minor league baseball coming to the Fountain City.
Yeah, it should be. It should be great. We'll see who the Braves send here. I mean, the Braves have got a great farm system. We're going to see some big time talent coming through. The coaches and such too. You're going to see a manager and players that you'll be familiar with because most of these guys have played in the major leagues. One year when the Columbus Catfish were here, the hitting instructor was Gary Ingram, who played for years with the Los Angeles Dodgers, hit a home run in his first major league at bat, as a matter of fact. He won a national championship when he was in junior college ball at Middle Georgia. And, he went to Columbus High. And he had I think his senior year hit like 492. That may still be a record for Columbus High baseball. And he was the hitting coach. You're going to see guys coming through, and there'll be players you've heard of teaching these guys how to play the game. And also remember, at Double-A, these guys are advanced too. They're just 2 steps away. We've had players go straight from Double-A to the big leagues. A couple of guys did it. Ken Caminiti did it. Jeff Baldwin did it too. So you're seeing guys that are on the cusp of making the show.
Well, Dave, it really has been great talking minor league baseball with you. I've always appreciated you coming on my show and really just strolling down memory lane, talking about the history of Columbus. I mean, I'm a historian. I've only lived in Columbus since 2015, but we've had a lot of incredible moments, and you've covered a lot of incredible moments, and a lot of them dealt with baseball, especially when you were covering Frank Thomas while he was at Auburn, and probably one of the greatest players to ever come out of the Fountain City. And here's the thing, Dave, I'm hoping that Frank Thomas can come back in 2025 and throw out the first pitch at the first game in Golden Park for the Double-A team.
That would be interesting. It depends what he's been doing with the White Sox. Because if you remember, he's been working White Sox telecasts. So
Right.
it'd be great if they could get him to come back. By the way, one other thing to remember about managers, Torey Lovello managed here. And I believe he had a pretty good season last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Taking the Diamondbacks to the World Series. So
not bad.
Scott Service managing the Mariners. He played here as a catcher. You've got David Bell. He played here.
I do remember him.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 major league managers with Columbus ties, and that's just currently. The number of guys that come through: Eric Wedge, Jeff Skinner. The list goes on. So the talent coming through is not just players, but managers and coaches on their way up to the show too, because they want to get back to the big leagues as well. So it can be very exciting out at Golden Park, and we'll see what they do about fixing the ballpark up, adding amenities around the stadium and everything else to draw in people, so there'll be more than just baseball. You get people here not necessarily for baseball to start with, and then they get sucked into the game, and suddenly you've got folks coming back night after night. That's what they have to do, and we'll see if we'll see if they can make it happen.
And I do feel like if they use it for other events like high school baseball tournaments, it will also generate more revenue. But I also was looking at the dimensions of Golden Park and the capacity of the seating and comparing it to the AA teams in the Southern League. I feel that they're going to have to add 2,000 more seats because it looks like on a good night you could fit 4,000 people in Golden Park. But a lot of these AA minor league ballparks average about 6,000, even into the echelon of 8,000 fans. I mean, highly unlikely that we're going to get 8,000 fans to a minor league game, but we also got to make sure that the stadium is in withstanding of the teams in the AA so we can keep up with them.
There's a lot of structural improvements that need to be made. The list is really, really long, and it's going to be well over $1 million because you got to fix the outfield fences, which has got some structural problems. You got to redo the drainage. You've got to fix up the concession stands. The seating needs to be worked on. It needs an entire makeover. And this is a very big project that's going to take a lot of work. And they're going to have to be really dedicated to make this happen. They're going to have to do it quickly. You're looking at trying to do something so they can play in about 15 months. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done and needs to be done quickly and needs to be done very well. The last time they redid it, there were some problems.
Well, and then the last time that they fit that many fans, you remember back 1996, the USA women's softball team, remember seeing the highlights. The United States won the gold medal. Lisa Fernandez, we talked about just an incredible team with Laura Berg, Jillian Box, Michelle Granger, Dot Richardson, Julie Smith. They won the gold medal over China, but I remember seeing the fans out in the outfield. They had those extra seats. And I know that I had you on the podcast before a couple of years ago talking about because it was an NBC owned the rights to the Olympics that you couldn't be in the stadium, but you could only be in the parking lot. But you were still covering the event. I mean, that had to have been just a great atmosphere to have softball here in Columbus from the Olympics. And it really put the city of Columbus, like, as far as softball goes, on the map. I mean, you got the NAIA World Series being held here. And so I think that was a great moment in Columbus sports history. And in my mind, it's probably the greatest moment on Columbus soil as far as sports moments in history.
Yeah, it was pretty wild because the way that it was covered by the networks, NBC only had one channel. I mean, it's not like now where there's like 70 different things you can do, live stream and everything else. There was one place to get it. They gave softball 2.5 minutes total, and it was done about an hour and a half after the game was over. I actually announced who won the game before anybody else did out the park because I could see the scoreboard. I had traveled with the team a couple months earlier. They did a tour in Oklahoma. Went to Tulsa and went to Oklahoma City for the at the big stadium at Oak City, and so I knew who everybody was. And back at the station, there was a satellite. One of the satellite feeds had the first base camera for the CBC. The CBC was doing it, so we could see who was rounding first base. So from listening, seeing the scoreboard, and people telling me, "Oh, it's a base hit. They just rounded first," or "It's a double," I knew what was going on. So in between innings, I was doing updates bottom of the first, so and so, whatever happened. I was able to do that, and I actually announced who won the game before NBC even got around to it.
That was incredible. Dave, I want to thank you so much just for taking time and being on the sports beat and talking a little bit history of minor league baseball and just talking about how much baseball means to this community, just with all the great teams, all the great moments in this city. I couldn't think of a better city. And the second largest city in the state of Georgia, by the way, when it comes to population. We're just counting just city alone. Well deserving of a minor league team, and I cannot wait till 2025.
Yeah, we've been talking history. There's still history to be made. Let's
Yes.
make good history. How's that?
Let's make some good history. Absolutely. Dave Platta, everybody. Before I let you go, Dave, how can people see your stuff? Like, because you're still doing stuff for Fox 54. You just got finished with high school football Friday Night Lights, which, by the way, was fantastic. I look forward to watching that Friday Night Lights scoreboard show. It was incredible. You're also the voice of the Pacelli Vikings. I mean, you do a lot for this community, and you still are just very active in this community. I just love talking sports with you as well.
I appreciate it. Right now, it's kind of a dead period for me. There'll be other things coming on. It'll be, catch as catch can as I get a chance to do a few different things. I've got a website, daveplatta.com. I'm doing a real makeover on it. I'm going to end up putting up some old videos from the past. There's a few available now, and I got it's on YouTube. But I got a lot more I got to do. I got to get the time where I can break some of this stuff off, some of these old stories that I did. I was back and looking at some of them going, that was fun. So there'll be stuff added to it. I'll be putting posts on Twitter and Facebook in a couple, 3 weeks when I start getting things in order for that.
I can't wait for that. And by the way, I want to give a shameless plug to your son, who I worked with him. He was one of the people on Viking Live, and I gotten to know him. Outstanding producer. I'm talking Drew Platta. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he's really a chip off the old block. He knows broadcasting, and I know you probably asked him if he ever wanted to be an on-air personality. I know he just loves the production side, and I think he's doing an amazing job.
He's very gifted at the production side. He's a great director and built a lot of the graphics for this, working with Jeremy Hayes, who's the media instructor at Pacelli. The two of them were doing all kinds of cool stuff graphically and visually and everything else. And it was always, it's fun working with him because I worked with him for like 10 years before he went back to Channel 3. He works at Channel 3 now. He's their graphics guy and their special projects photographer, producer. And, it was fun. It's fun working with him.
Absolutely. That is great. When you can work with your son and doing something you love, and your son loves the same thing that you do, it's absolutely incredible. And thank you so much, Dave, for being on the show and really just going back in time and just talking about the history of Columbus sports. I always enjoy talking with you and talking sports here on the Sports Beat, and I would love to get you back on anytime you want.
Hey, I'm available, buddy. And Richard, thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. That was Dave Platta, a staple here in Columbus, been covering broadcasting since 1985 and one of the best to do it. And Hall of Famer from last year in the Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Fame. So he's one of the best. That's it. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning to the Sports Beat late tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.